I'm Ashley, and this is the Maverick Mompreneur podcast, where you're free and encouraged to own your desire to create and scale an impactful, discoverable online brand and business, a business that's aligned with your mission, lifestyle desires, personality, and zone of genius without wasting your time on the hustle and grind hamster wheel that is social media. Can I get an amen? Sis, you are a maverick, an original, willing to stand out in your authenticity, defy expectations, and do life and business outside the box. In our world, if it's not aligned with who we are, it's a hard pass or a brave pivot. So if you're here for the powerful identity shift and transformation from boss babe or boss mom to aligned CEO, building a one-of-a-kind, influential, hustle-free online business that will produce long-term impact and multiple streams of income while building yourself in the process, well, pop in those AirPods, grab that cup of coffee or glass of wine, and let's get growing. Hey friends, welcome back to the Maverick Mompreneur podcast. Today we are going to talk about something that has been transparently showing up in my life and honestly in the lives of so many women entrepreneurs I know. I tend to fall back into the trap of thinking that success in business is all about strategy and marketing and execution and persistence. And while those things absolutely 1000% matter, I've been learning, and in some cases the hard way, that there's something even more important, and that's our bodies. Hear me out on this. I'm not trying to get too woo-woo. This is really backed in science. If you've ever felt exhausted even after getting a full night's sleep, whatever that is for you, if you've ever struggled to focus or you've lost motivation for the things that you really know you want, then this is the episode you need to listen to. Let's talk about what's actually going on inside us when we're pushing hard in business and why ignoring what's going on is literally costing us money. Entrepreneurship in and of itself is stressful. There's no way around it. It's basically a nonstop roller coaster of decision making, deadlines, figuring things out, learning new things, implementing, failing, winning. It's all over the place. I don't think I really understood how much that stress was impacting me until I started to notice things like my creativity getting stifled. I'm talking like staring at a blank computer vibes, feeling super irritable over small things, getting stuck in the day-to-day versus being able to see the bigger picture in my business, and beating myself up or getting down about a low sales day versus seeing the bigger picture in my business, losing motivation even though I wanted to keep going, to keep working, but I'd find myself procrastinating and I'm like, what is going on? And I've really worked to correct a lot of this, and that's why I obviously want to share this with you. But I was pushing really, really hard for a good year and a half to build out a completely different business model and actually stay in business, going from high ticket group coaching and one-on-one coaching to pretty much a low ticket business model with very minimal high ticket done for you services and one, maybe two one-on-one clients per month. So that's a huge difference. And that took a lot of work to set up. And I definitely felt burned out, overwhelmed, but there's actually a biology piece behind that and something starts happening. And so I want to share with you some of the things that I've learned and researched about why this is. So when we're under constant stress, as in entrepreneurship constantly, our brains go into survival mode. And when you're in survival mode, that means less creativity, less problem solving ability, less patience, and emotional regulation. Those things are for when you are not living or dying. It's like your brain's prioritizing getting away from a dinosaur. Well, I guess dinosaur's not right. Like a lion instead of planning your next launch or having that conversation with your client that might be a little bit difficult. And then that is when the real problems start, because instead of fixing it, we start coping in all the wrong ways when we feel like that, or at least I do. And I don't think I'm alone in that. So tell me if this sounds familiar. You feel drained, you feel unmotivated, so you grab another cup of coffee, or in my case, yet another Celsius or energy drink of choice. you're exhausted, but instead of taking time off, resting, you keep scrolling on your phone. You keep making that creative on your laptop. You sit for hours at your desk, barely moving, but then you convince yourself that you just need to push harder versus rest. And then the physical symptoms start. So stomach issues, hello, stress-induced acid reflux, hello, random body aches, chronic fatigue that sleep doesn't seem to really touch, achy joints, feeling like you're aging faster than you should be, looking like you're aging faster than you should be. And I used to brush some of these off like, oh, this is just, part of being an entrepreneur. I'm just a hard worker. Hustle is part of this. But the more that I've been learning and practicing, the more I realize it's actually sabotaging our success to just keep pushing through, because the truth is that stress isn't actually the real problem. The real problem is that our nervous systems are completely overloaded, and some of the coping things that we do add to that overwhelm. So I used to think about it as the goal being eliminate stress. Let's get rid of stress. Let's reduce stress. But honestly, with entrepreneurship, that's impossible because stress is literally a part of this occupation. So the real goal is to train your body to handle that stress better. And this is something that I have been researching for the last 5 years because managing my nervous system has been so huge, considering I launched my business in a state of fight or flight on a personal level, and then fight or flight comes along with entrepreneurship. So I had like double fight or flight, and so I've really had to work some things out, hence creating the 30-day activated challenge, which some of you are doing right now. If you aren't, check that out, because that is literally my protocol for this very thing I'm about to teach you next. And I've doubled down on that recently after my back injury and back surgery and trying to get back into the swing of things and scale. By the way, I've had an 83% revenue increase from January to February, which January was when I turned back on the gas. I felt like I was just ready to rock and showed up in the way that I had planned to at the end of the year when I hurt my back. But anyway, I'm celebrating that. But anyway, there's two main nervous system states. So one I've already mentioned, which is fight or flight. And that is when your body is constantly on edge, making it way harder, if not impossible in some cases, to focus, think clearly, or make good decisions. That's when you have that stare at the computer screen syndrome. It's also known as, and I'm not a neuroscientist, but it is known as the sympathetic state. So if you hear people talk about the parasympathetic state versus the sympathetic state, or parasympathetic nervous system versus sympathetic, fight or flight equals sympathetic. The other, the parasympathetic state, which is the opposite of that, that's where your creativity, focus, smart decision making, those things actually happen. But the problem is most of us as entrepreneurs are actually stuck in that fight or flight mode 24/7. But don't worry, there's good news here. You can actually shift yourself into the right state. And there's lots of ways to do that, but one that has been really helping me lately is breathing. And I've actually been working with my daughter on this as well. I learned this way back in the day in therapy, and it continues to come up and come up and come up. And I'm reminded of how powerful breathing is, and just a simple breathing hack when it comes to getting us out of fight or flight and shifting us into that parasympathetic state where we can actually rest and work on our business and be entrepreneurs and manage stress better, which is what we want, right? So I know you might be thinking, oh, breath work, whatever, like that's so woo-woo, like how can that work? But hear me out. So our breath is what controls our nervous system. When you breathe into your chest, like a shallow breath into your chest, I want you to do it right now. Breathe into your chest. Your body thinks you're in danger when you're breathing like that. When you breathe into your belly, like a little baby, think about a little baby in a crib. When they breathe, you see their stomach rise and fall, right? They're not breathing with their chest. They're really deep in relaxation. And when we breathe into our bellies, our bodies start to relax. That's how we're born to breathe, right? Well, at least that's kind of in my mind how I think of it. So here's a quick test. Place a hand on your chest right now, and then one on your belly, and then take a deep breath in. Okay, which hand moved more? If your chest moved more, you're literally reinforcing stress with every single breath. And do you want to know how many breaths we take a day? It's 20,000 plus a day. So that's a lot of stress reinforcement. But if you shift to that belly breathing, which feels weird at first, but you're able to actually activate what's called the vagus nerve, which helps reset your nervous system. So I cannot remember to belly breathe all the time, but what I do is if I notice that I'm getting into for me, what happens is I get frozen. I'm more of like the procrastination freeze type of fight or flight person. But regardless of how you react like behaviorally to fight or flight, one thing you can do is 2 minutes, 2, 3, 4, 5 max minutes of belly breathing a few times a day. And I swear that alone makes a difference. It like resets you. And it's even better if you can get out or get a walking pad and go for a walk and just belly breathe. It honestly will make a huge difference. So try that out. So whether it's before you sit down to work or in the middle of your work session, or just as you feel your body starting to go into fight, flight, freeze type of mode, and do your belly breaths. Because here is what I know now. The biggest advantage in business isn't just having this killer strategy or even money. It's having a nervous system that can handle the pressure that comes along with entrepreneurship without breaking. The edge there is that when you can stay calm when other people are panicking, when you can see opportunities where others see a crisis, when you can move strategically and with calm instead of reactivity, that's when you become truly unstoppable. When you don't have to drop the ball, slow your roll because things are stressful in your environment or in your business, that's so powerful. And trust me, I'm still figuring this out as I go, but if there's one thing that I'm sure of, it's that ignoring our bodies costs us way more than we realize. I always go back to reminding myself that when I launched my coaching business, I was literally in, as I mentioned in the beginning of the episode, major, without giving too much information, fight or flight mode on a personal level. And then I'm launching a new business and needing to suddenly support myself and provide from this new business. But the interesting thing was I was in such a low, broken, crazy time that I really did need to focus on self-care, healing. I was doing all this grounding. I had 2 life coaches and a therapist. I was so entrenched in doing things to essentially regulate my nervous system that I trained myself. I kind of came up in entrepreneurship with these concepts. And so I know that they work because there's no way that I could have scaled my business to 6 figures during that year without those things. I feel like now I work way harder in a lot of ways than I did back then. And some of that's timing, but a lot of that is I was just able to turn it on when I needed to because I was really focused on taking care of myself. And sometimes now I'm like, oh, I'm good. I can just grind and totally run myself into burnout and then think, oh, why am I not feeling as good as I did back in those days? So anyway, tangent central, but if this resonated with you, I want us to try something together this week and commit to 2 minutes of that deep belly breathing 3 times a day. So maybe set an alarm on your phone. That's what I'm going to do anyways. Just set an alarm on my phone. Inhale through your nose for 4 counts. Hold for 4 counts. And exhale slowly for 8 counts. It's free. It takes almost 0 time out of your day, and it may actually change the way you feel in your business. I really think that it will. I know it does for me. I'm definitely going to be doing this too, so let me know if you try it. I would love to hear how it feels for you, if it's impactful, and if you found this episode helpful or insightful, I would love if you'd share it with another entrepreneur who may need to hear this. I've got lots of great episodes coming up for you. I'm so excited about the podcast. I'm just giving myself permission to talk about about, yes, business strategy, because I always want to give you what's working now, but more things like this, more of the real deal, what's going to keep you in the game long term. So if you're here for that, make sure to hit the subscribe button, follow along, give me a follow on Instagram at Ashley R. Latimer, and until next week, cheers to your impact. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got a ton of value. And if you did, I would really appreciate if you would rate, subscribe, and review this podcast. It really helps push out the message that I have to share with other female entrepreneurs. Thank you so much.